Some of us remember the time when Saturdays AM was sublime. All gathered around the TV, watching morning cartoons with glee. But then the ratings dropped. The corporate leagues replaced the whole crowd with news, reality, and the lie. Hoping that viewership would spike. Sadly, it never happened, and all the magic was gone. But now, a new day has begun.
Nothing you can do about it.
It's the Saturday morning extravaganza. And our flash provides every answer to wash away the doldrums and bring on the smiles. Saturday morning live.
Niles Lesh, Bruno Derlin.
Hey.
Technical difficulties, live TV people. I challenge you to do it. I challenge you to do it. So this is the Three People Like This Saturday Morning Alive show extravaganza number 2. Last one went pretty well. Got some good feedback on that. And today we have super guest Keith Price of Curtain Call. He's going to come in and talk about what it's like to be an actor, comedian, pod show genius, producer. And we're going to have Giorgio come in. If you don't know who he is, we'll let you know ahead of time what he does. And also Money Casciolini should be chiming back in with the post-Oscar predictions that he nailed pretty well. He's an insider, so that's kind of expected. And thank you for watching. We had a little bump in the beginning, but it's coming back up again. And now you can hear me, and that's a treat. After today's show, we're going to replay it, possibly cut out the beginning and replay the show. There's always a rerun right after the show, and feel free to watch it anytime. And then after that, what you should do is jump over to the threepeoplelikethis.com website and listen to the latest podcast of TJ Stone and Bruno and Mike. And it's going to be pretty awesome. In fact, I went back and I listened to last week's show, because TJ, who does this during the week, Monday through Wednesday, 10 to 12, Be Terrific with TJ Stone, he laments a little bit about what it's like because it's a little bit different than the free-for-all that a podcast is. He has to restrain himself a little bit. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. In fact, if you're in the chat room when TJ's on, just ask him to do characters and routines. He loves that. Just loves to really just work with the crowd, take requests. He's that kind of comedian. But if you watch the show, then on Monday, they went out and they were whacking some golf balls with Michael Artsis and I believe Courtney and another dude. It looked like he might have been a lawyer or something. And they were whacking balls at Powell Park, New Jersey, as one would do here, IRL. And yeah. So Tuesday, they go over to what TJ shows us how to flip a house. It's Three People Like This, flipping houses. And kind of an inside behind the scenes, it's kind of a big thing. You don't necessarily go to the sites and see what people are doing and meet the people that are behind it. It's very informative if you have an interest in that. Because I know on Be Terrific they do a lot of stuff with the, Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies. Well, this is like kind of the under. This is the real hammer and nails of the, and real estate investing is a pretty good deal. Ask Donald Trump. Wednesday, they had Olga Namer on, the great Orthodox Jewish comedian, who was fantastic as usual. And people seem to like her the most out of the 3 shows, but that's understandable. And after watching the shows, I kind of got a feeling, because I went back and I listened to TJ's podcast. It was called Be Horrific, I believe they titled that one, from last Saturday. And he kind of talks about what it's like to restrain himself. So I get the similar thing here, often I want to go to politics or do some crazy conspiracy theory, but just going to keep it on the entertainment tip. We're going to talk about some Oscars. We're going to bring Bruno in, and he's going to tell us about the Viva 18, which is the new Vision Fest. If you're fans of the Vision Fest, you will be fans of the Viva 18. That's gelling as we speak, so I think we are ready to bring Bruno in. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Bruno Derlin.
Hey guys.
And there he is.
I am back. I'm back.
Good to see you again, buddy. What's
Good,
going on?
Man. How's it going, Niles?
Pretty good, pretty good. Show 2, a little more relaxed.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
if the thing that happened would have happened last week, I'd be a mess. I'd be a puddle, but this, no problem.
No, you're good, man. You took care of that. You look
Chilling.
like you were ready.
Yeah, I was ready for it. It's my lucky penis hat that I'm wearing.
Oh, you got the penis hat.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that, it's black penis hat.
Well, that's a foreshadowing of the show. So, what do we got going on today?
So, yeah, I've been working on, as you mentioned, bringing back Vision Fest, our domestic film festival where we showcase American talent. And we are working on a new version of that, which is called Viva 18. That's Vision Fest Independent Vision Awards. We're going to be giving out some great prizes. It's going to be held in December. Dates are December 1st through the 15th, and it's going to be online at visionfest.com. So that's how you access the festival. But then it's going to stream everywhere. We're going to be working with Be Terrific on some IRL stuff. We're going to be working with HowTube, howtube.com. It's going to be everywhere, so it's going to be a fun show. I brought in a clip, again, just to give people that are not as familiar with Vision Fest, what we plan to do, and a little recap of what we've done over the last 18 years. So why don't we play that clip? It's the Vision Fest clip, Vision Fest 18, Viva 18.
Viva 18, folks.
We've found that the American film auteur has trouble getting his or her film exhibited, let alone distributed.
We know how difficult it is to make movies. We know how tough it is to get that film that they make shown.
By creating a forum that allows them to do that, that's what we take pride in.
If we program a film at our festival, it's special.
That's good Viva 18, folks.
Yeah.
Bruno, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
I'm a filmmaker. I want to get my film seen by a bunch of people in your festival. What do I got to do?
All right. Well, we're working on getting call for entries open. It's going to be on filmfreeway.com and also withoutabox.com. It'll be like a / Vision Fest. That's how you get to it. You submit through that process, and then we announce our lineup probably sometime in November. We haven't set dates yet because we're still working on the call for entries. But once that's announced in November, we notify anywhere from about 35 to 55 filmmakers that their film got in, and then we set them up into program blocks, and you'll be able to watch the films there. So if your film is awesome, then it gets in, and it vies for award consideration. That's the Independent Vision Awards, which are beautiful, sleek statuettes that are made, they're like acrylic. They come to a point which you can use as a
I've
weapon.
seen them.
You've seen
They're
them.
nice.
Yeah. So yeah,
So we're gonna do a awards ceremony type thing. Is that
we're planning that as well.
maybe in beautiful Secaucus?
It's a beautiful IRL.
Op too.
It's a beautiful IRL op.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. It's all about the streams.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Hopefully, we'll set up with the filmmakers that do get in. The plan is to kind of do some IRL work around them. You know,
Nice. Maybe
once
have them
once
like-
we know that their films are coming in, then we'll set up some interviews and just following them around, maybe on their next project, you know,
Awesome.
things like that.
I was thinking maybe we could just have actors eating,
Yeah.
and like just you know.
We could do that
I'm
too.
a big,
Yeah,
eating channel. I know
absolutely.
some of those guys really can eat. That Greek kid on that one channel, man, I seen him eat some broccolini one time. Wow. So okay, Viva 18, I'm on board. I'll be there. That's for sure. I'm looking over into the chat box and I see, is that Money Casciolini?
Money Casciolini's in the house.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's an honor. He was on the show and now he's chatting in. Apparently, he wants some conspiracy stuff. Well, I don't know if I have one off the top of my head. You know, Twitch used to be Justin TV, and Justin TV, you know, was all IRL before the gamers took it over. And they had this one event that happened on it. Well, you know, I'll save that for another time. We have a contest that's still in the.
Yeah, we're
works.
building that.
And
Our theme song.
our
You know,
theme song.
what's the issue with the theme song?
Well,
of course.
today there was no sound.
Well,
Normally, the issue is, well, maybe they heard the theme song, but normally it's the beautiful vocals on that, which I'm not sure who it is, are tricked out to make it a little
they
more.
are tricked out. So we
feminine.
we need a feminine voice.
I,
So for that, what are we gonna do?
have a contest.
Well, let's do it.
I did one. I tried to launch it on some of the various Facebook pages that are tied into the show, and I guess maybe I didn't word it properly. I put something like 3 people like this needs women, and they rejected it. So we're going to try to relaunch that. And anybody that can carry a tune or not carry a tune. I mean, we got auto tune, so it doesn't matter if you can sing or not. But
Preferably if they can sing it,
preferably if
it's a
you're
good start.
female, or we can just follow the octave range would be great. But
And harmonize. That's
harmonizing
important.
is key.
Harmonizing is
It
key.
can only take you from so far out to do that. So that's what's up. Those are some contests. You get Vision Fest for filmmakers, and we got a singing contest of sorts for singers. The prize for the singing winner will not be a statue. Even better, you can be on the show on this very desk, couch. This is a desk. That's a couch. With Bruno and I, or whoever. And if you don't want to do that, you still have to do it. Well, we'll negotiate it without actually signing anything. But that's what's hot in the contest world. And I think there's a new guy on the show that we were going to bring.
Well, he's a new guy for this live show, but Giorgio is a frequent contributor to 3PLT. He's been, I would say that Giorgio is one of the first characters that popped up on 3PLT in the early days of our podcast, well over a year ago, and it's hard to explain Giorgio because he does a lot of things. He's a little bit high-strung too.
Okay.
I guess the best way to explain Giorgio is to have him do it. Now, I brought a little clip, which is semi-live. I say semi-live because it's a weird thing.
So are we.
Yeah, he's in the United States, but he's sending the clip, streaming from a remote, undisclosed location. He doesn't want anybody to know where he is because he's paranoid about, I don't know, immigration and stuff. So,
yeah.
but he explains it in the clip. So why don't we go to Giorgio's clip, take a look, and see what's going on with Giorgio, our man.
Hello, Bruno Derlin. Also, Rick. Also, Mike Rick. Also, DJ Stone. I am an undisclosed location because I am Giorgio, as you know. I am Giorgio the artist. Hold on. I am very nervous. You're understanding why. I make a huge, big mistake. One time I say, Donald Trump is #1 guy. This is a big mistake for me. I am not thinking he is #1 guy. I am thinking he is now 1 million guy, because Donald Trump is a bad guy, because I am voting Donald Trump. He is #1 guy when I'm voting. Now he's 1 billion guy because he is saying immigration is no good. I am immigration. I am 100% immigration. I am not 100% legal guy. That's why they're looking for me now. If you listen, you're hearing banging. They are trying to dig through my apartment. They are thinking I am hiding in the walls, but I am in my landlord's basement. He is on vacation. He's not knowing that I am here. I am very scared. If they immigration me to my country, I will not have a good life. I will have a very bad life. But I am very happy for my time here in America. I also have a lot of artistic things I am do for America. America's #1 place. I am making many poems. I like to say poems for freedom, for speaking, for art. I am always trying to improve myself. I am #1 actor, #1 singing, dance, martial arts, jiu-jitsu. I am also grapple with the guys. I'm also ballroom dance. I am also direct. I'm also sing. I'm also doing many cinematographies and all of artistic and regular art when you draw it. But I'm most famous for my poetry. I never stop poetry. This is #1 thing for me. You are very nice to ask me to do some things for your show, and I am honored to do it, but you cannot tell anybody where I am. This is very nervous all the time. So if you want, I pre-record some poems for your show, and then you can play them. If they immigration me, I will go away. But if I am away, at least I know you'll have my poems for the show. Now, I'm starting my #1 first poem. The name of this poem is Why Are You Violent? This is a poem of why are you violence? Violence is not good. I am stop violence with my poem, and it goes a little something like this. Why are you punch? Why are you kick? Why are you elbow strike me to the back of the head? This is not good. This is the bad way. Why are you violent? Why are we violent to each other? We should be nice. We should not smack. We should not push. And also do the good things to each other. Why are you kick? Why are you kick? Also, if I'm leaving 100% immigration and they are taking me away from this country to another country for another #1 different country, it's not #1 country, it's terrible country. I'm leaving you with another poem. This poem is for people that is hard time for getting fat, eating the cheeseburger and fried food. Don't eat it. You need to work hard in the gym. Stay strong. Don't be soft. Soft is a loser way of living. Loser way of living. Living like a winning way is the guy who is staying strong and going to the gym. It's something for working out. When you were a little boy, you used to go to the store for candy. Now you cannot eat this one because you have diabetes. You are fat, you are gigantic, you are eating the wrong things. You cannot live this way. You must go to the gym. You must go to the gym. You must go to the gym. Look at your fat on your back, also on your chin. What? Are you kidding me? You are fat. You must go to the gym. Do not blame your wife or your friends or even your family. You are the disgusting fat guy to me. You are fat. You must go to the gym. You must go to the gym.
Hey, Sergio. I kick. I violence. Awesome stuff, man. Listen, you're safe with us. We always would protect you unless somehow the president offers us money to ID you, then of course you're done. A lot of people out there in the chat room saying hi. Look like Michael Artsis himself is in there saying, what's up? What's up, Mike? How's it going? Okay, now the best part of the show. Our super guest, Keith Price from Curtain Call, is visiting us today. He's a longtime friend of the Three People Like This podcast, but it's his first visit to Saturday Morning Alive. Welcome, Keith.
Oh, thank you so much for having me this morning. I'm excited. I'm nervous, actually.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Live television. I don't know what's going to happen.
Could be anything. Could be anything, guys. You know, that's the beauty of live TV.
That's the beauty of live TV.
Can't be any worse than what happens in the studio at 3PLTs.
Yes, this is a...
I hear we're cleaning up our act a little.
Well, for this we have to.
Somewhat.
You know, we have to be much more friendly, I guess. Is that the goal?
We're being terrific, and then you can go over after the show and be horrific on get the real.
You need to have like an after show, like all the other big shows
get
do.
the
You know what I'm
like
saying?
Talking Dead. We'll have talking.
Yeah. No,
Talking
The Walking
people.
Dead for the Talking
Talking
Dead.
Dead.
Yes. Three people like this. Three people are turning over. It's fabulous.
So
So what's going on?
well, we're pretty excited having this show, to having like super guests like you on. You met TJ and the guys at the studio in Times Square?
Yeah, well, actually, the studio that I do my podcasts, Keith Price's Curtain Call, it's out of Midtown. And when I first started to record my podcast there about 2 years ago, that's when I met Bruno and TJ and Mike Ricca, and I met the whole crew. And it was instant love, but it was like instant love that you would never have expected, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
that's true.
You know, because I'm a big homer, let's just put it out there, big gay guy. And so when I walked into the room and I had heard that the three guys from 3PLT wanted me to be on their show, and I was like, for what? Because, you know, we're all of a certain age.
Yeah.
I know what that means. And I have to say that it was really one of the best things that I ever got to do, because these guys really are a lot of fun. I mean, the craziness when you listen to the podcast and the insanity of the things that they say and do, it's really underneath there's a lot of love. So it's a lot more than what people are getting. But I love the fact that people are getting what's at the top, because that's kind of fun too. That's kind of fun too.
They have big heart, and
Yeah.
I did the show one time, and I really enjoyed it. I felt very at home. Nobody alienated me or anything like that.
I mean, that's
about
much
alienation.
later on, once they get to know you better.
Then you're really in.
Then you're in it.
really
You're in it.
Well, your Curtain Call concentrates on theater and Broadway.
Mostly on theater and off Broadway, on Broadway, regional theater as well. I'm waiting now, hopefully, because we're doing this podcast, that one of our friends in our podcast, Afram, you know, I can never pronounce his last name.
No one can.
No one can pronounce his last name. But he is actually right now in Buffalo. And like I said to people on my podcast, is that if you're lucky enough to be in towns where you get theater at all, you should go and support it, because it's such a wonderful experience to be able to go and put yourself in a place where you don't have any control, but you also don't have to be that involved, except to just enjoy what you see, hate what you see, have some sort of emotional connection to whatever it is. And right now, our friend is doing this fantastic play that I got to see when it was on Broadway called Disgraced. And it's the Road Less Traveled Theater Productions or something.
Up in Buffalo.
Up in Buffalo. And it's called Disgraced, and he's got the lead. And when he told me that he was going to do this role, I was like, oh my God, that is a perfect role for you. So if you are in Buffalo, where am I looking at? Hey, if you're in Buffalo, you guys, if you're in Buffalo, go check this play out. It's called Disgrace. It's a little controversial, but if I know Afram the way I do, and I know what he's gonna bring to that role, y'all Buffalo, y'all ain't ready for him. You are
What's
not ready.
controversial, man?
Well, it is about this young aspiring Muslim type character, because we're not really sure until towards the end, who is doing everything the way we're supposed to do everything. He's a lawyer. He's making great money. He's got this beautiful wife. They've got the mixed relation couple friends. It's the black woman Jory with her Jewish husband. And I mean, it was all this, and it's like New York Upper East Side chic with the fabulous apartment. And then you know how all these plays is, they have the dinner party, and then everything goes south, and it just. And I mean, and just things that you would never think about come up in the show in 90 minutes. It's one of those shows that packs a lot of punch. So shout out to Afram. He had his opening night last night, and it's running, I think, through the 31st. So there's a theater suggestion, and it's for Buffalo, New York. Who knew?
Break a leg.
Break a leg, my friend.
Awesome.
But I am a big theater person, and my podcast, generally, because I'm in New York City, and our podcast studio is right in the middle of Times Square. It's the perfect place to be to talk to a lot of the big Broadway names and Broadway stars. And you had mentioned right before we came back from the clip that you have an experience of seeing Chita Rivera and Ben Vereen. And just last week, if you check out the podcast, Keith Price's Curtain Call, I just interviewed Chita Rivera.
Wow.
Yes, who's going to be doing a wonderful show in New York City, Feinstein's 54 below the cabaret space. She's going to be doing a show there for the next couple of weeks. So you should think about coming into the city and seeing her again in an intimate setting.
She was awesome.
She's fantastic.
Roxy? Was that the
Roxy Hart, that's right.
And Ben Vereen.
And she originated the actual role of Velma Kelly on Broadway 30, 40 years ago.
That's what I was impressed with, because this was like 1999, and I was like, she's still doing it.
She's still got it, baby. Amazing. So yeah.
Because I'm not really like a big Broadway guy. That was like the one other play I'd seen. I only seen one show on Broadway in my entire life, and it's kind of a weird story. It happened on like a Valentine's Day. Because I live up here, and a good friend of mine calls me, and he's like, "Hey, I'm coming up to New York, and he's married, and he's like, we're going to see a great play up there, and maybe we can touch base." I'm like, "All right." So then he calls me later and he goes, "Hey, do you want to go see this play?" I'm like, "Well, what happened to your wife?" He's like, yeah, don't ask, didn't work out, something happened." I'm like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, bro, And so we come up and he's like, "Well, it's Wicked, do you think you want to see that?" And I'm like, I'm a straight guy, you're a straight guy, not that you can't enjoy theater, but it doesn't, if you're any type of guy, it's a nuanced female sister kind of thing, that how women are treated differently.
Yes.
It's a beautiful play. I would recommend it. But it was just hilarious, because we were saying, "Well, you know what? Tell you what, we'll just have a couple drinks. I don't see this guy very often. We'll hang out, and then maybe we'll scalp the tickets, StubHub." So the drinking continues. We're like, "You know what? I never seen a Broadway show. Let's go see it." I mean, it's a witch. She's got green makeup on. It's Wicked. It sounds like something pretty cool.
I just love the idea that it was like, "Let's go have some drinks and see a Broadway show."
Yeah.
Like, who does that except for me?
There's not a lot of high fives in the community, so we're like high fiving over the show. And we go to see the show, and then he's got these great seats, first level mezzanine, center stage.
Ooh, so you get the right stage tableau.
It was perfect for the show because of the witch that
and
flies
everything's
around.
moving and people are flying.
And people were so nice to us. The usher's like, "Oh, right this way, boys." And I'm like, "Wow, this is so friendly. Everybody's so nice. Is this what the theater community is? These people are so awesome to us." And I'm like watching it, and we go out for the intermission. We're having beers. I'm like, I was hoping she'd be a little more Wicked, but it's kind of some chick thing.
You see a whole other side of, you get a different side of Elphaba, yes.
So
not as mean as the movie made her, right?
Exactly.
Well, you see why she's very mean in the movie. You get her backstory.
People are treated badly, and it's a reflection that comes out of it. So, we leave the theater, and then it's finally hitting us, because "Oh, it's Valentine's Day, we're two dudes." They're probably like, "Oh, it's so nice these guys are together on Valentine's Day." I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's kind of hilarious."
Two guys unaccompanied, without women.
That was, yeah.
seeing a Broadway show
On
on Valentine's Day. And not just any Broadway show, y'all. Wicked.
Yes.
I don't want to be the one to say. I'm sure that they were very friendly to you because in the theater community, we do love the gays, as they say. And I'm sure that that's what they thought. But you're a good-looking guy. I'm sure the other guy probably was,
even better.
as good-looking. See, and then the both of y'all going to see theater together. Of course they look like
It
you were
was
gay.
great. It was
In
like-
New York on Valentine's Day, look at
It was almost
that.
like a Skinner-level experiment of what we. But everybody was very nice. And then the best part, after the show, we went to the Palm, which is right down the street, and he was like, "Oh, well, you know what? We're gonna." Reservations for dinner. I'm like, this is too much. This is too much.
You know what? Can I just say for a second,
it's like a
why
date.
am I jealous of your fucking Valentine's Day?
Why? It gets better. It gets better. So we sit there because to this day I crush.
I
his
freaking
wife.
can't get a date, and this guy's going to the theater and getting dinner, and you don't even have to put out?
I did not put out. I mean, I don't know if that was the intention. He's back together with his wife, and I busted chops to this day about this thing.
You could have had him.
Yeah, you know.
He could have been mine, sister.
You know, could be a whole different life for me right now. Didn't go that way. So we go to the Palm, sitting down. It's a big steak Italian kind of place, really good. And about midway through the salad and the appetizer, Danny DeVito sits right next to us, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I kind of because my friend's facing the table, and Danny DeVito's right here, and I'm looking around like, I gotta think about it. And I noticed the first thing I noticed, like, hey, that's not Rhea Perlman. That girl looks like she's about 20 something. I'm like,
Yeah,
what's going
the
on,
agency
Danny?
sent her over.
I'm
Puff, puff.
thinking, I'm like, wow. I mean, you know, Always Sunny was just starting to pick up again. His career was blooming. Maybe it was time to make the change.
Exactly.
Upgrade the wife. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So, you know, the dinner finishes up, and like I don't see my friend very often. I have a business card of something I'm doing. I'm like, I'm going to give him the business card. At the same time, Danny DeVito's getting up, and my friend just goes to shake his hand. Hey, Danny DeVito, big fan, you know, as you do.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there. I don't want to be like, oh, not me. You know what I mean? You gotta be like, and I got my
I couldn't
card.
possibly.
So I palm him my card, and he's just like, what is this? And he just
Like,
walks out. It was just funny. He was, you know, great spirits. And the person he was with, I found out, was his daughter,
Lucy DeVito, yes.
who you had on your show. And
Yes.
when I was doing my research, I listened to that.
Yes, she actually was at the time, probably the window of time that you saw her. She was doing a play off Broadway called Hot Mess with another guy named Max Crum, wonderful actor, and it was like her first real foray into doing like a full-on kind of staged play where she's there every day. I mean, she studied acting and she's done all of those things, but you know, it doesn't hurt that Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman are your mother when you're looking for an acting job.
Don't hurt.
Just saying. Just saying.
Opens the door.
Just
Doesn't necessarily-
opens the door.
Does more than that.
But you know what? Sometimes if you just want the open door and access, that's all you need. When the inspiration hits you, you're in the room already. See?
I already have agents built in, money people, lawyers.
Exactly. Like she gets the access to the business part that the struggling actor who doesn't know that they need to have all that other stuff, that's, you know, she's got the step over with that.
She's not going to sign an incredibly horrible contract.
Absolutely
or anything
not.
like that.
There'll be inclusion riders for everything she does now.
But I do like to listen to when somebody who's an actor or an actress or performer has famous parents talk about the disadvantage of it, and I'm always like, yeah, I see that, but that's outweighed by the huge advantage of having a celebrity parent who's done this all, did all the hard work. All you got to do is show up and be somewhat talented, and you can have a career.
Well, it's like that phrase too when people talk about how money doesn't bring happiness, and I was like, yeah, but it kind of makes sadness a little bit more bearable. I call me weird. I don't
It
know.
buys you a Learjet to fly around the world and look for it.
And look for
It buys time.
It buys time.
And
Time.
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what's missing in our lives. We're always rushing places, you know?
Especially
So
around
if you
here.
got money, then there's no reason to rush, and you can figure other stuff out. But when you're always trying to find ways to make money, like as soon as I leave here, I got to go to my other gig. You know, it's like so. You know, you're always thinking about how you're gonna make money. How you're gonna make money. It's, you know, you don't have that problem, Lucy DeVito, per se, assuming that you're in the will.
It's a waiting game.
It's a waiting game.
huge waiting
Colin
game.
Hanks, he does a few things. He's a little visible, then he disappears. He brought in a couple of grandkids. I think he's married with a couple of kids now. So like, you know, Grandpa Tom's got something to play with. As long as you kind of keep the kids around, there's a definite spot for you in the will as long as you don't mess it up with drugs.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the key is stay alive.
Stay alive.
Stay alive. be terrific, stay alive. And
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. You know, I again, whatever they have problems we don't understand.
Absolutely. And you know, we never will understand their problems, but let's just face it, the problems that we all have right now, I would trade a few of them for whatever they're going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you have issues or if you're
Right.
effed up, it doesn't matter how rich you are, but you know, again, it pays for therapy, pays
Yeah.
for
You know,
Absolutely.
you have better options and resources to fix it if you choose to.
Yes.
Whereas there's a lot of people that if they could have at least one of those resources,
Yeah.
they may not be so messed up. I'm just saying.
Yeah, just living in New York City, you know, the doctors you have access to, as long as you have insurance or money, you know, you're not going to get that like in some rural Kentucky backburg or something.
At all.
You know, they usually have good doctors, but one and he's busy. You know, so it's good to, you know, it's good to have some kind of connections. Let me. Do you have a favorite Broadway play or not so Broadway play?
Well, I mean, in terms of, I was just having this conversation last week about how much the show Chicago, and you know, it's funny because I moved to New York 23 years ago from Texas, and that was one of the first musicals that I got to see on Broadway. That was like, you know, as my grownish self living in New York, because I'd moved from Texas. I was like, I'm going to be a comedian, I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to do it all. And so this was in that window. And I remember being mesmerized because I loved the score, I loved the show, I loved the presentation. And I was instantly hooked into seeing theater live again because I didn't have that in Texas. You know, I mean, I had touring companies and I lived on the movie musicals and I loved the cast recordings, but for me to find, you know, to be here where I have Broadway stars all the time, it's amazing. And so for me to have that and have access to it now, like with my podcast, it's like a dream come true. It really, really is. It really is. So I think like Chicago, I would say, is one of my favorites. And it's a perennial favorite because it's been around for about as long as I've been in New York and still selling out. So it's a great show. In terms of the newer shows that have come out, of course, if I said I didn't like Hamilton, I'd be lying. I loved Come From Away, which is happening right now. Believe it or not, in this brand new season, there are two shows that I'm mad about right now. One of them is called Once on This Island, and it's a revival from Ahrens and Flaherty of the writing people. But it's from a show that they did like 25 years ago. This is a revival. And this cast is amazing. The show is amazing. It is probably the most exciting 90 minutes of full theater you're going to get. Like, you know, just like song and beautiful singing and great set and great intimate vibe. It's wonderful. And then the other show, believe it or not, SpongeBob the Musical.
Really?
Wow.
Who
knew?
Who knew? I was like sitting there the whole time going, am I really loving this show just because it's a really good show, or am I loving this show because I'm a 5-year-old kid? And in either case, the answer is yes. It is such a well put together show. Tina Landau is the director. She does this amazing job of telling this really kind of current-y story. Like the images and the things that they're talking about are very real current if you look at them, but then it's kind of hidden underneath the cartoony energy that's there. But then there's just so much power in the performances. I will be surprised if that doesn't wind up winning Best Musical. I know that sounds ridiculous, but this is Best Musical, SpongeBob, and Best Revival. I'm going to give it to Once on This Island. I'm already going to say it before the nominations, trust me.
Tonys are in June?
Tony's second Sunday in June.
Much better time to have an award show as opposed to the middle of February, I think.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah, but when you
middle of
have it on
February
TV,
in LA,
you could do that.
and February in LA
In Los Angeles,
is,
right.
you know,
So
fabulous.
was that your segue?
I love that. That was good, right? Very nice.
I had a conversation.
Smooth.
If you remember, about a year ago, we had a good conversation
Yes.
that never got recorded, and the intention was to record it. we talked about Broadway musicals that went on to win Academy Awards.
Right.
And if you remember, I remember telling you that I was a little put off by Gigi, and you were trying to sell it to me a little bit.
What about Gigi specifically?
Well,
Because
you know, 9 Academy
they're trying-
Awards, and
and he's trying to basically pick up a young girl. Like
Wow,
that's the whole thing.
It's
It's
a
like
different time.
thank heavens for
little girls. Come on,
Maurice.
Maurice Chevalier. Maurice Chevalier.
To me, it was disturbing.
Directed by Minnelli, Vincent Minnelli.
You
That was like
go on-
actually his first big musical.
Yeah.
Like he had done Cabin in the Sky or something like with
Right.
and
Didn't he did an American in Paris?
an
though,
American
right?
in Paris. But I
Right,
think the American in Paris was
Before.
before
Yeah.
Gigi. Okay, yeah. So in either case, though, I mean, big, lavish musical,
Yeah, yeah.
but it was kind of creepy.
It did.
And then they had they did the stage musical version of
Oh,
it
no.
a couple of years ago. Yeah, and
It
people
still
loved it.
disturbs me.
But yeah.
I have trouble watching that movie. Listening to the songs, I get creeped out.
Thank heaven
not
for
trying
little girls.
So I'm not trying to be an apologist, but if you Google the word courtesan, it had a certain meaning, and it was
Yeah,
So
fancy
these words-
hooker.
These words
That's
are
what it's called. Courtesan equals fancy hooker.
and these words are terrible now, but you can't use them. But it was a grooming of the courtesan to become
The hooker.
the hooker.
She's the hooker.
The star of the show.
Kept woman.
She's the kept woman, aka the hooker.
But a lot of good songs.
See, I had trouble with that too. I wasn't humming along. I wasn't humming along.
Thank heaven for little girls.
Leslie Caron is a beautiful
Amazing,
woman.
Leslie
Listen,
Caron,
give
but
me-
she was more
give
fabulous
me-
than American in Paris.
Give me La La Land any day.
Oh God! Oh
like
God!
La La Land.
Oh, don't!
Oh,
Oh,
say,
there you go.
say-
This is a musical theater person telling you La La Land.
I
Okay.
literally think he got it from a scene in Spider-Man 3. Look at Google it right now. There's a scene in Spider-Man 3 where he's got the Spawn suit on, and he's going out and he's trying to, or the Venom suit, Spawn, whatever.
Whatever.
And it turns into this dancing scene, which I swear is the same scene they have in that
yeah.
little. I swear
Yeah.
it's the same scene.
All right, give me La La Land over Gigi any day.
Okay, for thematic purposes, yes, because it is creepy. You're raising a girl to be a courtesan so you can marry her later. Whatever. However that works, that's weird. That's creepy. La La Land, in terms of it being a journey on film, okay, yes, you win. But
Good. All right.
But in terms of splashy musicals of what people want to live for, I mean, you take out the creepy, you're trying to groom a girl thing, it's still a beautiful musical.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
you take out the one thematic element that drives the film.
Yeah, it's still gorgeous.
The name of it.
The numbers are fabulous. I mean, what are you going to do?
I felt La La Land was a beautiful photography of LA, which is not a pretty city, but they had somehow captured like this lighting at night, this dust. To me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why. And then it had the story of two different types of artists. You had an actress versus a jazz musician, and they kind of had their own lives. They just couldn't have it together.
And they were boring. they were very. It was a very boring couple. I mean, I understand why people were crazy for it. I understand why they loved it so much. But honestly, I found it quite boring.
How about the audition scene? You had to like that.
Well, I
People
mean, but
coming
that's
in and
every
grabbing
one of our. That's our nightmare. Like,
Hey
you
Keith,
know.
look, someone loves you. A pure
Who loves me?
Sentire says Teddy Bear Keith.
Aw.
Love
Well, I
him.
love you too.
that?
Single? What's your story? Talk to me.
Our first love out.
You know, I don't just talk
Love
theater.
Are you on Growler?
Maybe.
That's a whole other show.
That's another show.
That's another show.
Save that for the podcast. Click over to the podcast.
For the
show you how
filth
that
and
stuff
floor,
works.
and that's where I'll be. No.
Nice.
I see Money Casciolini is chiming in a lot. He had some nice things to say about you before, but we
Oh.
were talking. I didn't want to interrupt you. He says,
Oh.
I love Keith. Keith is the heart of Broadway.
Oh, wow.
That's what he said.
You know what? I love Broadway, and I love being an ambassador of sorts. I mean, there's lots of people, there's lots of other names of people that do it, but I don't think many like me in that I have a genuine love for it because I actually love what the worlds that you can create with theater, that you can do things with. But I also love the talented people that do it. Like, from the people that are on the stage singing and dancing to the folks that are making the curtains, that are making the costumes, to the folks that are trying to put the money things together to create this thing, to give you this big presentation, to the PR people that are helping you pull attention so that you would go see the show. Like every aspect of that, I really do like. And I have a really deep love of it because it is one of those few places that you can go and do and be anything you want. You know what I'm, you know, like you can create anything you want in the world of the theater. And you can do theater anywhere. I mean, yes, Broadway is where, you know, the people are paying attention and the Tony Awards and everyone flies in to try to get the Hamilton tickets and stuff. You know, like it is that as well, but it is the same kind of that energy that you use to create a show and use to create theater in general. You can do that in Poughkeepsie. You can do that in Oshkosh. You can do that in Plano, Texas. You can do that in the dusty truck. And that's what makes theater so wonderful. And it's like, I think that was one of those things that kind of kept me sane growing up in Texas, because I also knew, because I was born in Brooklyn, but we moved when I was 6. So I knew that there was an entire world outside, but I was stuck in Texas and I had to figure out what else to do with it. And so that was the beauty of TV and movies and all of those places of imaginations. And so when I locked into theater, it was really one of those things where you were like, wow. Like you walk out on stage and it's just like stand-up comedy for me too. It's like you walk out on the stage and there's an entire room full of people waiting for you to say, do whatever. So it's up to you to be as good as you want to be, or it needs to be, and be at 100% because they're there for you and you need to be there for them. And it's just a whole kind of different exchange that you don't get from a movie. Yeah. And I love movies, but it's not the same thing. And so, you know, I don't even know what I was going to say,
it's like
but
an in presence and an electricity, and you're like one-on-one.
You're right there, and it makes a difference.
Instant gratification for both parties, for the audience and for the performer.
But it's the kind of thing that you can do anywhere.
Manny Cashellini chimes in. He says, "Theater is film without the drugs."
Also, do you find that the Broadway stars are more accessible than the Hollywood stuff? Because I remember I worked at the Marriott Marquis in Another Life, and that's in the heart of Broadway. And I would see, let's see, Captain Picard was doing Prospero's
Tempest of some sort.
Tempest, yeah. Tempest. Why can't I remember his name? Well, anyhow, that guy, and he'd be out there every night signing every autograph until everybody left, because I would leave late at night.
Right.
Like, that's amazing, because you know
he doesn't have to.
Movie, and he doesn't have to do that.
And he doesn't have to do that. You know what is really great though? It's like when you meet. There's a lot of folks that come from the Hollywood world that come to do Broadway now. Some of them may have been actors in their you know, stage actors in their past, but some of them have been out of it for a very long time. And so when they come back to Broadway, if they're lucky enough to still have a fan base that comes out to see them, then it is almost obligatory for them to stand outside and sign. They don't have to, but I mean, if you were like a Bruce Willis who came to do Misery a couple of years ago, you know, people are going to come to Broadway just to see Bruce Willis. They don't care what Bruce Willis has to say. Yeah. I saw the performance. I got to say, Laurie Metcalf, who just won the Tony last year and was nominated for the Oscar this year, she literally had to literally and figuratively had to carry Bruce Willis through that piece. But people went there to see Bruce Willis. They might have gone to see, you know, Laurie Metcalf if they were Roseanne fans for TV. Who's not? You know, but she's got a fantastic stage career. She's got a fabulous theater career. Right. So, like, you know, if you knew what you were really getting, you'd be going to see Laurie Metcalf before you'd be going to see Bruce Willis. But unfortunately, Bruce Willis puts butts in the seats.
Asses in the seats.
Asses in the seats. And so if Bruce Willis doesn't go out and sign afterwards, then he's doing a complete disservice to the whole process of what's going on, because this is the one time people can get close enough to you that have been spending money on Die Hard like I did, and spending money on some of those other terrible movies you did.
I'm being told we have a clip from Manny Cashellini.
Yes?
Cashellini's coming in with a clip, Oscar recap.
Oh,
he's doing a little
okay.
Oscar recap, and then we'll come back out and we'll talk about Oscars.
We'll talk Oscars. Let's talk Oscars. Absolutely.
Let's do Manny Cashellini clip.
That's it.
How you doing, everybody? Manny Cashellini, Oscar Recap 2018. Big night for Man Boy Love. Big night for Bestiality. Big night for the British, and of course, big night for the Me Too movement. Listen, I have one thing to say. Annabella Sciorra, I have always loved you. I had a thing with her at 45, and at 55, she looked amazing. Selma Hayek with that mangled English, sexier than ever. Ashley Judd, 9 bad plastic surgeries later, and you're just out of your mind. What are you saying? People of different races, ethnicities, genders, and intersectionalities? What are you talking about? She destroys everybody's credibility in the whole Me Too movement. You know who was missing from the Oscars? Sally in accounting. Yeah, her too. She gets harassed too, but she can't say anything because she has a job she's afraid to lose. And in the real world, you can't speak up. But God forbid you reach out to somebody in the real world. You're too busy feeling sorry for yourselves. Everybody in that room was made by Harvey Weinstein. 90% of the people in that room didn't say a word. They knew what was going on. So Me Too. Yeah, you guys stood up and said no more. We're going to stand up to who? Yourselves? Yeah, we're going to stand up to ourselves. We're not going to harass and sexually assault ourselves anymore. Like, I didn't know already it was not a good idea or a good thing morally to sexually assault a woman. Yeah, hashtag Me Too. I'm offended too. All right, so let's move on to bigger and better things. Gary Oldman got a Lifetime Achievement Award, all right? He should have won for Dracula in 1992. But of course, Francis Coppola directed that movie, one of his best movies, one of his forgotten classics. Typical Oscars, prejudice against Italians. They could have made it up to Coppola after they screwed Scorsese on Goodfellas. They could have gave Coppola something for Dracula. They gave him nothing. They were too busy sucking up to Clint Eastwood. No disrespect, Clint. I've always respected you as a gentleman and a professional, but Unforgiven versus Dracula, you played a 70-year-old cowboy. I don't care how many 6-shooters you got. I'm not afraid. Gary Oldman as the Prince of Darkness, terrifying. And it's a love story. And it's bestiality, which maybe was ahead of its time. As you can see, Shape of Water wins the Oscar because I guess it was a year for bestiality. There was no big gay movie. There was a big black movie, Get Out, but they gave him the affirmative action Oscar in the screenplay category. Jordan Peele for Get Out. Big night for black racists. Absolutely. Now you can make any movie you want and get $5 million per script instead of $50,000. Good for you. Good for you. So, recapping, Gary Oldman gets the Lifetime Achievement Award, Best Actor as Churchill. He was brilliant, but we know he should have got it years ago. Meanwhile, he thanks America for everything he has, everything he is, everything he loves. His wife, his children, his career, his life is an American life. It's an American life. He thanks America, and he gets a golf clap. The troops, after a montage of war movies that these douchebags made billions on, you make billions on war movies, and then at the end of the war movie montage, they throw up graphics saying, support the troops, thank you for your service, blah, blah, blah. You get a golf clap. Excuse me, la 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 la. You did a little bit, a little bit. You did. Keith Price, welcome back. The 3 people like this, welcome back. I gave Keith Price his start in theater when he moved up here from Texas. I took him into my house, treated him like a son. So it's good to see him doing big things in the theater world, representing 3PLT out there in the theater world. God bless. And one note that you should point out, that we should point out, Niles Lesh, kudos to you, okay? Because people don't realize how people like you and Julian Assange and me, how we change the whole shape of the known civilized world. We change the whole landscape of things, because Shape of Water, which is, you know, it's the Swamp Thing, let's be honest. Adrienne Barbeau in the Swamp Thing, another girl who got slighted by Oscar, because back then Playmates weren't celebrities. Nowadays Playmates, they give them Oscars for showing up, they make them presenters. Back then it was a disgrace to be a Playmate. Meanwhile, she was brilliant in Swamp Thing. So they remake the Swamp Thing, but meanwhile, what people don't realize, Shape of Water went into pre-production, okay? Shape of Water went into pre-production 6 months after Julian Assange and Niles Lesh released the Gay Satanic Aliens Manifesto. Originally, that script was a gay love story between the guy and the creature, but it hit too close to home. Julian Assange, Niles Lesh, too much on the money, no pun intended. Next thing you know, it's a straight love story. So, you know, let's recap. Women in Hollywood are complaining about getting harassed. Meanwhile, they don't say anything that they get paid 30 cents on the dollar. They're mad at the workforce in America that doesn't pay women. Meanwhile, they're not getting paid anything either. They're getting paid 30 cents on the dollar. $20 million for the guys, $6 million for the girls, and you don't say a word. Because you're all hypocrites. Hypocrites. You know why you're down 6 million viewers? 1 billion people watch the Oscars, but you're down 6 million Americans. You know why? Because they want Billy Crystal back. Bring back Billy Crystal. Please. Please.
Money. Well, Billy Crystal, if you're out there listening, your agent
Come
is
back, come back.
going to come back.
I'm gonna have to disagree.
Not a fan?
I know I love Billy Crystal. I just don't think I need to see him. I'm good.
No,
I'm
probably
good.
not anymore.
I need to see.
But I don't need to see Jimmy Kimmel. That's that's the
He's
issue,
over
really.
too.
But I don't want Jimmy
I
Fallon.
say
of
bring
all
back
time.
Chris Rock, man. He was
Nah,
awesome.
too controversial. They can't handle
Yeah,
it.
but it was
Although this
fun.
would have
The
been a
last
good
time
time.
he did it, he wasn't controversial
He should
at all.
have
He
done
was
it.
having fun.
I think he should have done it last year when it was all about the Oscars so white thing.
That's the year he did do it.
And he just
Chris
came
Rock.
out with a
That
new
was
tour
Chris
where
Rock
he's
back
kind of
then.
exploring that stuff in a
Yeah.
different way than he used to.
Yeah, but I mean, they were still too afraid. They were still a little bit too afraid to talk about it or be funny enough to where you can say what's the truth and cover it up with humor. But
Well, the day after
But they
the
did it-
Oscars, CNN had a thing. They said, Oscar got woke, but winners not so white. Like, okay.
wait a minute.
Oscar's so Mexican. What do you, I mean, what do you call it?
And Filipino. Don't forget Filipino. I found
diversity out
I liked the show. I felt like it was exactly what it should have been. It's like everybody should have walked away with something, because in the end, that whole thing is just a big trade show for movies.
It is.
So
It is, 100%.
even if you win, it's great. But being in the room and having your film seen across the world. That's even better than the Oscar, because sometimes even after you get the Oscar, things don't really work out for you, Monique. You know, I'm just saying it don't work out that way.
It's a promotional tool that was created to play that time of year because there didn't used to be a Hollywood. It started out here, and it was wintertime and nobody was making movies, so they created it. But now, like, to get a nomination, the average campaign is about 300 to 500,000. To take it from nomination to an Oscar, they usually invest like up to $3 million to get it. So it's
Right, but
a lot
when
of
you
cash exchange.
but when you
And there's
think
a lot of
about
payback, too, though.
but you think about once people say the Oscar-nominated film, like the film was nominated for an Oscar, like they can wind up recouping most of their money from the time that announcement is made to the time of the Oscar night. If it's one of those films that didn't get a lot of love before that moment, all of a sudden, like what did Frances McDormand say when she won the Golden Globe? She's like, now people are actually going to go to the movie theater and see 3 Billboards, which was great, which is how I did it.
Great movie.
And it was a fantastic movie. I thought it was she was a little bit angry, but I got it. But like,
She brought that to her with the to the Oscars as well.
But she brought a lot of that. She brought that swagger of that character
did.
But you
with her.
mentioned everybody winning, and that's what's been happening. The sweep concept has been
It's gone.
for years.
And
I mean, only like Gravity a few years ago won like 8 Academy Awards, but no Best Picture.
Right.
So that was the last big sweep. But it wasn't the big film that the one that walked away with.
Yeah, with all the
Best
prizes.
Picture, yeah.
You know, and I think that what happened is that because I thought this was going to be the Greta Gerwig's moment, like she was going to wind up walking away with an Oscar. I think that what happened was that it was more of a woman's empowerment expressive night. But I don't think, that there were a lot of women that were going to walk away with the prizes that they thought they were going to. And so, on the other hand, there is Jordan Peele, there is Bobby and Kristen Anderson Lopez, Filipino, but I guess we'll lump them as Latino since they did the Mexican movie. You have Shape of Waters, Guillermo del Toro winning not only Best Director, but he's also winning Best Film. So like, I think that what happened was, that we were all so caught up in the Oscars so white thing 2 years ago, so black folks were just swarming in, and black folks was getting it in, and then all of a sudden the Me Too thing happened, and it was supposed to be all about the women, but somehow the women didn't get it, and then the Latinos just kind of came right in underneath, and like, oh, it's our time, because you know what? It's been one of those things where I think Latinos have kind of also been marginalized, even more so. They just haven't been as loud, and so
they snuck over the Oscar border.
They Hey-oh.
Let me ask you this about Get Out. What did you feel about that film?
I love that movie.
I love structure.
I love the film. I love absolutely everything it had to say. I did say this afterwards, which was because I grew up in Texas and I grew up with a lot of older black women, that when I saw that movie, I was like, that's what they tried to warn us about when we was growing up. Don't be getting next to those white women like that. You got to be careful of the white woman. That's why. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. And then you think he's married to a white woman, Jordan Peele. I hated the fact that people they were looking at this as a comedy at one point, like with the Golden Globes. I said, because there's nothing funny about what's going on in that film. This is like classic film noir. This is good old Alfred Hitchcocky kind of stuff. Like, I don't understand how y'all are calling this that. But
ultimately,
I'm glad
it was horror, though. It was
horror, pure horror. And I'm glad, though, that at least
towards comedy, I thought. And
yeah. Like a dark comedy.
Was there if people wanted it, but I think that's how Jordan Peele writes. Like the Kay and Peele show, it was that kind of stuff. So.
But he did something that no black man has done. So bravo to him.
Made up $200 million while doing it. So
absolutely. And the thing is now what it has done between that and how about the Black Panther people? I love the fact that they were sitting on the other side going, we just made $1 million like 5 seconds ago, right?
Yeah,
we just made $1 million, right? Y'all see that, right? White folks, y'all looking, right? 2 weeks in, 700 million. How you doing? See, black people can make some money up in this piece if y'all just let us and stop being ridiculous. And so,
a lot of money on the
same
table. Thing
with women, same thing with the Latinos. It's like, I think what we were seeing is that everybody got an opportunity to show that they can do great work if they're given the opportunity. And I think that's really what the Oscars ultimately showed. So,
yeah.
The only people that didn't make money were the people who advertised on the Oscars because they were down 25%.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I could do hours on Oscars, and I really wanted to do a little more, but unfortunately, I think we're out of time.
Wait, quick Oscar trivia.
Okay.
I'm going to name 4 films, of which 3 of them had 5 nominations for Best Actor. One only had 4. The films are Tom Jones, Red, All About Eve, and Bonnie and Clyde. Who's the odd man out?
That had all actor.
One of them only had 4. The other 3 had 5 acting nominations. Because that's a lot of acting.
1 and 4. I would say All About Eve had all of them, didn't she?
Yeah. So did Reds.
So did Reds, and that got director and stuff with Warren Beatty. Is it Reds?
I'm terrible at this. It's Reds. Sorry.
It is Reds, right? Okay.
But didn't Beatty get Best Director?
Reds had like 12, yeah.
But Warren Beatty got Best Director.
One more trivia, more to the times. Only actress to win an Oscar playing a person born as a man.
Oh, the Dangerously, Year of Living Dangerously. What's her name?
Linda Hunt.
Linda Hunt. That's it. Yes. Yes. Bobby Rivers would be so thrilled. Mocha, M-O-C-H-A-A, Podmatic.com. My friend, we do this film thing too. He would be very thrilled that I got that right. MochaPodmatic.com.
Also, happy birthday to my good friend Carlo Castronovo.
Birthday, Carlo.
Yeah, he's been, he was acting for a long time, and now he's acting like something else.
So watch the rerun right after and go over to Three People Like This podcast and hear TJ go crazy and horrifically offend everyone. And remember, the Vision Festival is now Viva 18, and submissions will be starting soon. And we're still looking for a singer.
Go see our friend.
Go see
in
our
Buffalo,
friend.
yeah.
Buffalo area.
And
Go see
Keith,
a
thank
friend.
you.
Thank you.
Man,
Are you kidding?
thank
This
you,
is
sir.
great.
Keith,
Thank you
really
so much for
appreciate it.
having me. This was fantastic.
So we'll
Beautiful
be here
sarcophagus.
next week.
I'm looking forward to it. Man.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a thing now.
All right, we
Can we
out.
create it now?
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
God, y'all are a mess.
I also do the dating game.
No.
Good
Now you're
times,
showing your
good
age.
times. I do,
Showing your
right?
age.
No,
Stop.
They made a new one.
Stop.
It's better than dating yourself, right? Is that that's the other joke? So.
We're good.